Hey guys, this is Reject Dave, just playing some Odyssey here, which I've been playing for a while. I'm just gonna explain the story creator mode, because it's kind of interesting. So, you have to make the stories online on their website. There's a bunch of ways to get links to it from in the game, or you can just search online. And then when you make it, you go... It's kind of like an actual developer tool, so like the StarCraft 2 editor versus the Brood War editor. The Brood War editor is vastly superior as far as like getting people in the community to make stuff, but the StarCraft 2 editor is literally what they used to make the game. So it's kind of the same idea. It's probably not literally what they used to make the game, but maybe for some outlying quests they outsourced stuff to like a random Ubisoft studio, and they said, here's these tools to make a quest. So I'm gonna guess they did that for some of the quests in the game, especially like the randomly generated ones. So if you look at the PDF manual for it, it's like 200 pages long. So it's really complicated if you wanted to do everything, but I just have like simple things in mind, like 10 of one NPC battling 20 of some other NPC, and then you give them different equipment. And you can use any NPC in the game. So, like, Anthusa, I don't think there's any way to fight Anthusa in the game. She's always essential. Essential is the Skyrim term for an NPC that's immortal, basically. There's essential and there's protected, but essential is the basic, like, on-off switch. Or Aspasia and Marine, both major characters that you don't really have that much capacity to interact with for the vast majority of the game. But now you can just do random shit with them if you want to. You could pick whichever character you want, and then you can set these. But so you have to test it in drafts, and then you publish it online. But playing it when it's published like this doesn't count as playing it, so there's no way anybody else will play it if you do that. So you gotta go into the game. And this is where it gets dumb. There's no way to search in-game, so you have to search online using the same tool. My original account, the Uplay it's associated with, is attached to an email I've not had access to for like 7 years. That's how old that account is. And I could probably still get it somehow via some complicated means, but instead of doing that I just used a different account, because screw that, basically. Also, Uplay points are starting to depreciate, so that kind of lessens their value in the first place. The load times aren't too bad, considering it's an enormous game. This game is like 125 gigs. I'm playing on a PS4. There's going to be something else interesting in the upper right corner of the screen. I'll explain that as we go along. Because it's on PS4, so there's no file editing or anything like that. But basically you can place NPCs anywhere on the whole map, literally anywhere that other NPCs spawn. If you want to do like an NPC where you want it to be in an area where there's not a lot of hostile NPCs of one kind or another, so you just want a place where there's civilians, and then probably you don't want to make the NPCs non-bandits, but we can look at a spot that has bandit NPCs versus one that doesn't, just for comparison. And there you go. Almost done. We're here. Well, hopefully it's the right save file. I think it will be. Okay, so here we are again. So you go to quests. This menu is in the game from the start. The story mode is only like 3 months old, I think. So there's probably not a lot of information on it in the first place. So these 14 down here, they're the same on the other account, basically. And they'll be the same on everybody's account. So everyone gets suggested the same 20 stories or so. And you have no way to change them at all. So like once a week this will refresh and be something different. So the way to change it is do customize story log. That is not an in-game option. It just opens up a web browser. So it's bad, basically. It's bad as far as in-game navigation. The story creator itself is pretty cool, but I was pretty sure that none of my stuff would ever get any plays at all. And that was wrong. I don't know why that was wrong, but after I played them in-game and then rated them like 3 or 4 days after that, they got more ratings. If you compare this to like the screenshots, so for example, I have a screenshot up here. Not that one. Here we are. So this has 48 upvotes, but all those happen like within, I don't know, like 45 minutes of it being posted or something. So the screenshots are just like a daily refresh, the ones that pop up on your thing. But the stories, apparently, to get people to play them, you have to wait several weeks after you clear it. So I have one here that has 2,000 plays. Like 4 days ago, it had 2, being the 2 times I played it. And I rated it 5 stars. I gave it rating, or I gave it like every tag, and then it didn't work. Like it didn't say there was a rating on it. It didn't say the tags. So I tried it again, and then tried it with all of them, and eventually there were tags, but no rating. So the 2 stars did not necessarily mean that many people rated it 2 stars or an average of the ratings. It might just be that the ratings didn't work. That seems more likely, to be honest. So 3 stars is basically what all of them are rated, because half the people will not rate it or the rating won't turn in. But there's nothing above 3 stars. 3 stars is as high as it can get. So I have 1 that's 3 stars, and then 2 that are 2 stars. But you see these ones have like 2,000 plays, 1,700 plays, and 463 plays. But I have other ones that have 2 plays. Those are 2 times I played it. This one has 2 plays. Those are the 2 times I played it. This one has 11. So this one has been played by somebody. Chances are these 11, there's like 5 of them or 6 of them that aren't mine. Maybe more than that. Those ones people actually found on the website and then played it because they had played one of the other 3. So there's some really, really tiny ass percentage of people that will do that. So that's cool, I suppose. But for the most part, it's just based on what the game puts up. And I guess to be eligible to be one of the 20 that are put in rotation, you have to play it and then rate it for yourself. And then I wouldn't say get lucky because there's only like 10,000 stories or so, but make a certain number of stories and then well, this is kind of like a battle royale logic thing, which is to say, let's say there's a circle, there's a certain percentage of the map that people navigate. I don't think you can put stories on Kefalonia, or before you leave Kefalonia you can't see stories. So doing one on Kefalonia, okay, maybe I'm wrong. I might be wrong. Doing one on Kefalonia might not work, but the first story I saw personally when I was playing the game was one in Megaris. And then basically Megaris, Fokies, Attica, and anything in that general vicinity will have a lot of foot traffic. So that's why this one has 2,000 plays, and this one down here, even though it's kind of in the same vicinity, only has 400. And then this one, just a little bit further south, in an area that's mandatory in the story, has 11. That's the theory, anyway. But maybe you'd have to be like level 20 for this one to pop up in your log, because you would have access to it or something like that. I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense how they laid it out as far as the in-game navigation of stories. I understand how you would do it online. The online system for searching is still bad, but it's not as bad as the in-game system, which is non-existent. There you go. In any case, so we're gonna look at just one of the random ones, and that'll link into why it says plus 2107 in the upper right, and then 99 for that matter. This character is, what, like 45 minutes old, something like that? It is boosted to level 50, so I didn't do it from level 1. but the boost is an in-game thing. So it's a 57-minute old character, essentially. So how did he get to level 99 with tons of gold and basically infinite skill points? Well, I don't know, but I can explain what happened to me and why it happened. And this is on PS4 again, so I'm not hacking or cheating or anything. It just happened. Right, so this one has more varied characters. And I'll try not to spoil the plot, but suffice to say you can't fight the vast majority of these characters in the game. And if you can, then it's only for very brief periods and limited scenarios. But with the story creator, you can fight anybody you want. Or anybody that's an NPC, anyway. And you can make them fight each other. And you can make 3-way or 5-way faction fights. But you can only place 30 NPCs. Which is a bit of a bummer because the upper limit of NPCs in this game is like 200 or 250. So it would be cool if you could place like 100 NPCs. But here you go. So this is Aspasia and Enthusa, the so-called spy masters, versus the courtesans, which there's a lot of different courtesans, and I'm not sure that all these NPCs are courtesans, just most of them. For example, there's the Oracle of Delphi out here somewhere. And she's not explicitly a courtesan, but she's a despicable person, so there you go. Okay, so Aspasia and Enthusa are Spartan Strategoi, which is like general. And the other faction is, or the Athenian Strategoi, and the other ones are Spartan Hoplites, so naturally they fight each other. Hoplites are about half as strong as Strategoi. You can't make Spartan Strategoi, because Spartan Strategoi are only big, I guess they're called Colossus type NPCs. It looks like the Aspasia group is losing, so you can like take in-action cutscene shots, which are kind of cool. And you could do this with basically any weapon if you wanted to, which is neat. So there you go. So if I got lucky, then this screenshot would get upvotes. Or more likely if it was more gratuitous, which is not particularly gratuitous. But I found 20 versus 10 is pretty even, depending on how you place the NPCs. I mean, there's like 15 of them alive or so in this subset. So here's a character from this island down here. And she's not a courtesan, but she might be a THOT, a thought. So, there you go. So, might as well be a courtesan, right? Sorry if that sounded silly. So this character is crazy overpowered, and I'll get into why shortly. So, this is the last Aspasia alive. And she got an extra kill. There you go. Good job, Aspasia. Bravo. But I think she's about to face her end briefly, I would assume. I mean, she still has some health, so it's theoretically possible she could get one more kill. So I have multi-shot that hits 8 targets, and there you go. There's a bunch of random numbers. And if I switch the boots, my second shot will go through shields instead of doing more 100 damage. So there you go. Oh, Aspasia somehow lived through all this shit. I'm not really sure why. Oh, not anymore. Triple Aspasia. Oh right, I don't actually have to aim. I could just do this. There you go. Okay, much faster than before this character was beefed up, because they would just have to manually fight everybody. Alright, so the thing I did was like chuck a bunch of NPCs on this torch. And do it with like 30 of them. And then when I reloaded the game, the, oh, I screwed up. Oh no. But you get the idea. So there'd be 30 of them all stacked up on this one torch. And then I reloaded the game, and for some reason it marked it as me killing like 700 billion NPCs, or maybe it underflowed the XP value. I've just been using the MP underflow glitch in Final Fantasy IV, the Japanese version, which is harder than the American version. So maybe that's why it happened, but that gave me... it gave me 99,99999 gold, whatever, like 9.9 million gold, an endless number of nines. Ironically, that's not really that much gold. You could probably get that just in the course of playing the game, but what it did give me was 2,107 ability points, and it takes absolutely forever to spend those points. Like if I just sit here and press upgrade, you get the idea. I have to press it 20 times in a row. It takes an eternity, so that's why I didn't spend them all. But suffice to say, it's like a max level character with max level prestige. It doesn't really make the character more fun to play. Like my real account doesn't have a broken character like this, just as a normal character. And I've sort of come up with a semi-broken build to play the game with that character, and that's fun. But just having access to everything doesn't really make the game more interesting. Like, if I'm just gonna R1 people or whatever, normal fighting will wind up about the same, and it's just by using abilities that makes it overpowered, stacking the right abilities together. But it's more about, like, the gear than it is about the perks that you have. So that's one. So for some reason, when the corpses reappear after you load, I think they like float in the air a little bit, and then they all drop. So maybe when they dropped, it marked them all as dying an infinite number of times because they were colliding with each other. I don't know. But there you go, that's how you get infinite experience. I guess I could load the save file and show it, but it might not work. I think it's mostly because this mode is not tested at all, that's why that happened. But there you go, 18,000 experience for not really doing anything. It's still pretty efficient anyway. I guess only 3 tags can go through. But you'll see shortly, so that was the one I just did. And I've rated it this way every time I've beaten it. And it'll still say 0 stars, and then maybe it'll have tags on it. And the other one has been played 11 times, not all by me, and it still has no rating. So 3 stars is basically the highest rating. Sort of thing, like just messing around with NPC AI, creating AI wars. Like you could have 15 Nicolauses fighting 15 of his son, whatever his son's name is. I could go figure it out. Or anybody you want. You could have Marine versus Nicolaus. I guess that makes the most sense contextually. Or Marine versus Xenia, the giant pirate lady. Xenia is the only Colossus type female out of the unique females in the game. So she's the only one that could be a Spartan Stratigoid to fight the Athenian Stratigoid with. But I also find that having an asynchronous number of enemies is more fun. This is something I've done in Skyrim for a long time. For like 5 years. So it's just sort of loosely the same thing without mods, essentially. So we have another one here that's in the Odessa Theater. This one is interesting because Athens basically has Athenian soldiers everywhere. So sometimes the Athenian soldiers will complicate it. But if they didn't complicate it, then the Spartans would tend to win. So it kind of makes it a little bit more volatile. So this one is probably the most interesting, and it does have the most ratings. I don't know if that's why it has, or this has the one that has 3 stars, and the other ones have 2 stars. Another one I tried, but I haven't published, was the Olympian area. But the Olympian area, they will not automatically fight each other because it's a truce. They'll fight each other if you, like, goad them into fighting each other. So I have one that's over here, but it's not published, so you can't see the story, and I didn't find it in game. Or I didn't flag it as one of my 6 stories, or 20 stories you can have the story log. But hopefully that gives you a general idea of what the story creator mode does. You can have dialogues, you can have like 20 different quests in the same story. But you can only place up to 30 NPCs no matter how many quests you have. Which is a problem. I think 100 would probably be sufficient, or if it just put it at the upper limit, which is probably like 250, that's how many are in the battle scenes. That would be cool. But you can't do that, so you'd have to stick to PC if you wanted some really crazy stuff. But 30 is enough. 30 is the upper limit in Skyrim. The upper limit in Fallout 4 is like 100. So in Fallout 4 you can do more weird stuff. The reason why the upper limit is that in Skyrim is just because there can only be 30 independent AI scripts running at the same time. That's obviously not a limitation in this game. But there you go. There's my experience with Story Creator. Hopefully I at least explained the in-game part of it pretty well. The online part, you kind of just have to figure out through experimentation. It's not that hard to figure out, but if you wanted to do something really complicated and weird, it would be hard. I also don't think you can play ships, so you can't do anything with the ships. You could just do stuff with NPCs, as far as I can tell. But you could do, like, hey, there's quests up here, and then you gotta go down to southeastern Crete and do a quest down here, and then you have to do a quest in Lesbos in northeastern Greece. Funny thing with Lesbos, aside from the pejorative, is that it's maybe like 5 miles, 10 miles from Ionia, which is the western part of Asia Minor, which is Anatolia in this time period. Asia Minor is Turkey, basically. Now it's Turkey, or the Ottoman Empire, if you prefer. So, realistically, you should be able to see the coast of Ionia. This is also where Troy was. From Lesbos, but you cannot, as far as I know. And also, it's not really that far from Constantinople. It's only like 20 miles that way. So there's some interesting shit they could have done with the map that they decided not to. That's kind of a trivial complaint, though, because the game is so ridiculously vast. I played like 70 hours straight and had a lot of fun with it. And I'll pick it up again and do all the DLCs at some future date. But back to replaying Final Fantasies in odd orders. So I just did Japanese Final Fantasy IV on Super Famicom, and now I'm doing Final Fantasy VI on SNES Classic, and then I'll do Final Fantasy VII on a PlayStation Classic, and so on. Theoretically, I would have done something with Final Fantasy VIII Remastered, but that's probably not going to happen. So, thanks for watching the video, guys, and I'll see you whenever.